We call it the human factor. No matter how much we inspect and improve our ships and our equipment, it's people, procedures, and practice that make for safe shipping. You may already be aware that over 80% of the incidents and accidents that occur aboard ship are due to human error. What you may not be aware of is a whole new set of regulations and procedures that focus in on this human factor. Among the most important of these is shipboard familiarization. Every ship is different. Good seafarers have always familiarized themselves with the specifics, equipment, procedures, duties. But now, shipboard familiarization is more than just good practice, it's the law.
You're seeing less and less regulations being written to modify and change machinery. They've recognized that we've modified machinery enough to the point to where it's rarely a problem in an incident. They're finding more that it's becoming the problem of the human factor, the person, or management policies, and that sort of thing.
The STCW code says companies must ensure that all seafarers who are newly joining a ship are given reasonable opportunity to become familiar with the shipboard equipment, procedures, and arrangements needed for proper performance of their duties before being assigned to those duties.
Familiarization is important in whichever vessel any crew member joins. All vessels are different, all have different procedures, all have different equipment. Even if two sister vessels, you will find it hard to believe, we have got 5 sister vessels of the same type, and all 5 of them may have differences in various equipment.
In this program, we're going to introduce you to the basics of shipboard familiarization, right out of the book, the STCW code, and demonstrated right here aboard ship. STCW requires that ships have written instructions for ship familiarization. Port State Control inspectors can and will ask to see these instructions. So, let's get started.
Let's double check 2 times before you open house.
Then during bad weather, because we are in winter in North Pacific, it's...
Welcome aboard the Belinda and the monthly safety meeting. Part of today's agenda is introducing Daniel, the new chief officer. Daniel will spend much of his first day with Aman, the current chief, who's going ashore. Today, Aman's job is to begin familiarizing Daniel with the ship. This familiarization process will continue in more detail over the next few days or weeks, if necessary. The familiarization process can be divided into 7 basic steps: communication, emergency actions, locating safety equipment, the muster list, operating equipment, performing duties, and familiarization with security procedures. It all starts with communication. Use the familiarization process to meet the people you'll be working with, to communicate. Make sure you conduct the familiarization in a common language you all understand. Then, familiarize yourself with the basic safety communication on board: symbols, signs, and alarms. Learn the company procedures that specifically apply to your job on board.
Safety is a very important part. The primary aspect is to identify all your safety devices, exits, various controls and features throughout the spaces that you work in. Those are going to promote the safe working environment that you're going to continue to work in, or that the crew would continue to work in.
Position on each deck.
As you take your tour, find the various signs, symbols, and safety procedures, and ask any questions you might have.
What is the length of the ship? There's so much number of life rings you should have, and a couple of them you have to have with lights.
If an alarm is sounded, what do you do? Step 2 in familiarization is identifying what actions you take if there is fire or smoke detected, if the abandoned ship alarm is sounded, if a pollution emergency arises, or if someone falls overboard. It's important that you discuss the backup and alternative procedures. What to do in case an emergency wipes out your first option.
So you can start from there, you can start from the control room. This is one place and one on the bridge.
Remember, there's no substitute for hands-on, show and tell.
This is one of their ways out if there's a fire or an incident in space where they have to evacuate quickly and perhaps some of the other exits are blocked. If other exits are blocked, they can get out this way, or if they're in the control space, this may be their primary means of exit.
Is there any life jackets here?
Life jackets for each crew member.
Step 3 in familiarization is locating safety equipment, life jackets and other safety gear. You should know the location of your own gear and the ship's other supplies.
So basically, each crew member have their vest in their cabin, and the rest is located on bridge, forward, and in the engine room.
There may be other safety systems you should be familiar with, such as protective clothing for hazardous materials spills, or first aid kits. You should know both the locations of the safety equipment and the procedures for various emergency operations.
It's getting away from looking at machinery, and it's having to even retrain ourselves to start looking more and more at the mariner himself or herself and decide whether or not this person is competent to do his duties or is being given the right tools to be able to do his duties.
Behind you, you have the valve releases for the CO2. The Coast Guard, for port state inspection, is going to go through their safety checklist. They have a list of items on lifeboats, on firefighting, on smoke detection. They'll check all the equipment out, and then they'll probably go through a couple of drills with the crew to see how proficient they are in knowing what they're supposed to be doing in case of a fire, in case of an emergency.
This is the fire control plan. This is one of the primary ways that a crew member not familiar with the ship could actually go and check and see what's on board, what kind of safety equipment there is, and where it's located at.
There are few pieces of documentation on board that are as important as the emergency muster list, with its detailed emergency assignments, instructions, and duties. Typically, the muster list may include a crew list summary, a fire plan including instructions and assignments for each crew member, a procedure for abandoning ship, and sometimes a pollution control plan. Your muster list may look slightly different. The point is, get to know it.
Am I correct if I'm saying that this fire muster list also appeals to the pollution muster?
No, pollution is a separate file.
Okay.
Once you've gone over the procedures, find the stations and become familiar with the gear that goes along with them, from fighting fires to pollution control to abandoning ship.
The reason mainly behind in case of emergency, if I'm in a real situation or...
Even if you've had plenty of experience, systems will be different.
Every ship out there is built differently to some aspect, and when a crew member comes on board, he needs to be made aware of the systems on board and where he's at and where he's working.
You've got to know more than just what to do. You need to know how to do it.
Okay, Daniel, this is our fire station logger.
Okay.
So we have all our safety gears here.
In your first familiarization, chances are you won't be operating or using every piece of equipment. But you need to know the basics: how to raise the alarm, locating and using the portable fire extinguishers, closing the weather-tight or watertight doors. Part of your familiarization will be determining the training and the drills that you'll need to get up to speed.
We've implemented a training session when the personnel first comes on board. We have pamphlets for the crew members describing what their duties should be. An example would be operating the crane. We'll have a pamphlet that gives all the hand signals and certain things to watch out for even before starting the crane.
In using equipment, again, there's no substitute for practice and for drill. And since you'll need to demonstrate these skills for certification and for inspections, try to make the most of every learning opportunity.
I personally believe that you are learning every day something new. And I don't even hesitate to admit that there is never a stop to this learning curve. You keep learning all the time.
Performing your duties means mastering two sets of responsibilities. What you do in medical emergencies or accidents, like this pollution response drill, for instance, and what you do every day, your routine duties.
That sits tight around the cable.
Yes.
With a two
Yes.
stainless steel clamp down.
Yes.
We had that on my last ship.
Doing what you do every day well, and preparing for what you might have to do in case of problems, is the very essence of the seafaring life. It's also what a good familiarization program should prepare you for.
We are the people who are sailing the ships across the ocean. The safety is for our betterment. But if we don't follow a procedure, for the sake of not following a convention or a code, we just don't do it, and an accident happens. It's our lives which is at stake.
The latest amendments to the STCW have added new requirements for awareness and training in onboard security procedures in response to emerging and evolving threats in the 21st century maritime community. Before assignment to duties, seafarers must now be familiarized with the ship's security protocol. This means awareness, identifying security threats, and whom to notify, both on board and ashore, in the event of suspicious behavior. Beginning in 2014, all seafarers must receive at least one of 3 levels of security familiarization before assignment. Level 1, security awareness training, is mandatory for all seafarers aboard. Level 2 training is required for any mariners with designated security duties on board. And Level 3 training, the most comprehensive security-related familiarization, is given to a ship's security officer. As we conclude this video introduction, here are a couple of tips for making your familiarization process more effective. Assign a host or a guide specifically to conduct the tour and answer questions. Allow enough time for a thorough tour, questions, and demonstrations, at least 2 hours. Use a checklist and a sign-off sheet so you standardize the process. Keep the record on file. Use familiarization as a team-building tool. Introduce the new crew member to others. Share information. Finally, emphasize that training and regular drills will be part of your ongoing skill development. Ship familiarization is one of several new initiatives in maritime safety. It emphasizes the human factor, the people part of the business. When you start people off right, everyone benefits from improved commitment, safety, and performance.